welcome back to another video. Today, as you have read in the title, is a sort of a Arvid and Ghost discusses video. It's a new concept me and Ghost here have come up with, where me and him discuss certain subjects which I feel like it's better if we are multiple people in the video to discuss it. And for today, which will be basically the first full video of this, will be, as the title says, mods. And there's a specific reason for why I have Ghost in this video. So Ghost, why have I chosen you to discuss mods?
Hi, so you've chosen me because in the community of AIMS2 mods and modding, I like to think that I know a lot, and I know I've discussed with a lot of members, and I've done a lot of research and gathered a bunch of documentation. So I think you've chosen me because you think I'll be the most competent to speak about the matter.
You're one of the most competent, maybe not the most, but the people who are maybe more competent to you either don't want to talk to me or I think shouldn't talk in the videos.
Agreed.
But as you can see, everyone, and including Ghost, has already pointed this out, you can see my little talking points list here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the basics, which is what is AIMS2 modding? And obviously everybody knows that modding is adding things to the game. And today we're going to exclude liveries because I wouldn't fully class them as mods in the same way as the other things we're going to talk about, which are cars and tracks. And now tracks are currently very hard to mod because, as I understand it, you have to take them from other Madness Engine games. That's a specific thing. Madness Engine games, so like Project Cars 1 and 2, and Need for Speed Shift 2 and some weird other games. And what you have to do is take those tracks, do some weird Harry Potter magic to then make them compatible with AIMS2. And currently there's only one group of people I know who have actually doing it, which is Project Cars modder team. But there might be some more, what's it called, a breakthrough through there. And Ghost, do you want to discuss more the breakthrough, or yeah?
I want to go back to the stuff you just said at the start. Yeah, so technically liveries are the only mods that Reza have implemented and worked with the community to be in the game with their override system, but you said we're not going to talk about it. There are other types of mods, telemetry stuff, dashboards, and reshade, and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, today we're going to focus on track and car mods that are implemented in the game. So you're not wrong saying that right now track modding is very, very limited. What we've managed to successfully do in a usable state as of today, which is 29 October 2025, is Project Cars 2 tracks being imported into AIMS2 as is, with no modifications, and most of the features working. Some tracks, like the one in Scotland, I don't remember the name. Well, it works perfectly, track limits and all that, but other tracks have issues when concerning texture alignments, when concerning track limits, pit box, and stuff like that. So the community and I were all working actively on fixing these stuff and doing some research onto getting other tracks in Project Cars 2. For example, getting the 3 tracks that are in Project Cars 3 that are in there are way more than 3 actually. The 3 real tracks, Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, and Zandvoort, for example, getting them into AIMS2. The current progress is that we are still missing a couple modules, but we've got a lot to load in already into the game. And the other Madness Engine games include Need for Speed Shift, Need for Speed Unleashed Shift 2, Test Drive Ferrari Legends, or whatever that game is called, the name is so complicated, and World of Speed. I think that's it. Project Cars 1, Project Cars 2, Project Cars Pro and Project Cars 3. Those are the titles of the Madness engine, apart from AMS 2. So yeah, that's about it for track mods. It's very limited. In terms of car mods, it's much more broad and with much more functionality compared to what track mods can do. What we basically can't do is implement them to work in time trial mode, for example, and we can't implement them into championships, and we can't create our own category preset. For example, there's the IMSA preset. We can't create a mod preset, for example. But we can do anything. We can create a category, we can create a new car, we can have it have custom damage, we can import any 3D model from anywhere, anything we want. We can have custom physics, we can have wiper animations. There's a lot of stuff because there's a lot more software that exists and that is fairly easy to acquire and fairly easy to use to mod these cars in these vehicles, I should say, because I still have some research to do on, for example, motorcycles or airplanes.
Yeah, airplanes will be interesting.
We could go on to who are the modders of the communities, because we've talked about what can be done and what can't be done right now. So there are a couple groups, and then there are independent modders. The groups include Chaos Modding Group, which I am a member of, which mainly mod Project Cars 2, and you can find them at chaosmod.weebly.com.
Link in the description.
Link in description, exactly. There's also Project Cars Modding Team, which I will abbreviate to PCMT. They mod for Project Cars 1, 2, and AMS 2, and they are the ones who publish tracks. You can find them at projectcarsmoddingteam.weebly.com, link in description again. And there is the Thunderflash clan, I'm going to say. There's a modder called Thunderflash, which has his website at mmodding3.net, link in description again. He's got the most amount of mods, I'd say, in one place. And he has a very popular Discord server too. And then there are other independents, such as RacerXTC with his website, acousticcactus.wixsite.com/mods for you. No, that's not going to be easy to type, so go into the description again. As well as just a bunch of others, for example, Xella, who is exclusive to the AMS2 skinning project Discord server. He publishes his mods there. And then there's a couple of other modders like Canrod, like Talcan, and what else? Beezer215, who publish in both of the Discord servers that I've mentioned. So yeah, they all publish in these websites. So some are part of the Chaos Modding group, some are part of the PCMT, and some are independent, and some are even part of Immersion Modding Group, which have done the IndyCar 2023 mod. But there's a lot of collaboration and intercompatibility in between members for Chaos and Immersion Modding Group, which I will abbreviate to IMG. And then finally, there are a couple modders who like to help us out for that come from the Project Cars 2 modding scene, as well as the Need for Speed Shift 2 modding scene. I can think of a couple of them in the different groups I discuss in that like to help us out, even though it's not the same game and they maybe don't have a lot of interest to help us, but they still do. There are a lot of nice people in this community.
So as you can see here, I have a very educated guy on the topic. And as Go said, there are a lot of people and a lot of websites, which will hopefully all be in the description. If one isn't, you just tell me, Ghost or anyone else. And before we maybe go to the second stage, I will just quickly ramble on a few of the mods which I said we wouldn't discuss, but maybe it's still good to bring them up. And first of all, you have liveries. You have a lot of people who do liveries, like Wolf, who makes for some of Zila's mods. You also have a lot of other few people on overtake the main source of liveries. Like you have Dustin, who makes the current gen F1 liveries. You have him, Alan Fry, Lady Crusette, I think she's called, and a few other people who make the previous seasons of F1, the liveries for those seasons. That is, they have a small amount of few random people, I would say, who post a few. Tom LaHockey make interesting NASCAR inspired liveries. Then you'll of course have me, I've made a lot of GT3 liveries. I make some for prototypes. I'm currently focused on making the current season of V8 Supercars, and hopefully I will become the V8 Supercars livery guy. So I will be doing as many seasons as possible, really. And then you also have what Ghost also talked about, dashboards and HUDs and stuff, which are mostly on SimHub. You have one guy who's doing them for some Samsung app. I don't remember what the guy is called or what the app is, but they are dashboards for that. I've also made a dashboard which you see in all of my videos, of which I use. And yeah, you have a lot of few others, but most of the dashboards on the SimHub or in SimHub are just other ones which have been adapted to work with AMS2. So it's not really AMS2 based. As far as I understand, mine could possibly be the only true AMS2 dashboard, but don't quote me on that. And now it's time for Ghost to do some more talking, because now we're going to talk about why there are so few mods per se. Because as we have discussed, the tracks, there's only one source. Cars, there are quite a few, but if you compare it to a game like Assetto Corsa, there is a big difference in the amount of mods. Obviously, that's been a game for a lot longer, but there's still a clear difference in the amount of mods available. So, Ghost, why are there so few mods out there?
Well, as I think I mentioned, AMS2 is based on the Madness engine, which was developed by Slightly Mad Studios, and the objective of the Madness engine was to be a little bit complex. So there was a little bit of goal in mind to limit the amount of mods that we're able to do, because it was made for Need for Speed game. They don't want a lot of it's EA. They don't want a lot of mods on that. So yeah, we're inheriting the kind of philosophy of we don't want that many games, but it's 2009, so we don't really know how to limit modders. We're inheriting from a hexadecimal style and text-based structure. And so there's very, very little documentation. A lot of the work has been done retro engineering the whole structure of the game for now a dozen of years to understand the structure in the game and bring new translations, because of course the translations of the hex files have changed. A lot of features have been added to the Madness engine. It's just a core that was built in 2009. Now a lot of things have been added. For example, the TAA interlacing that's coming up was not originally in the engine. So yeah, there are very few people who know actually how to read these translations and then permit them to read the hexadecimal files, which are showing on screen right now. These are very hard to read, and you've got to understand what every input means and how to use them correctly and then name the structure correctly. You got to know a lot of that, and there's a very little work done to teach new people how this works. There are a lot of very nice people in the community. I consider there are about 40 modders in the whole entire Madness Engine community who are currently active, and only 20 of them, about 20 of them are fully capable AMS2 modders that we consider of. So with such a limited list, it's hard to learn how to do this by yourself. You gotta basically, you know it or you don't. And having access to all this documentation is so hard. on top of the fact that the company's Slightly Mad Studios has been shut down, and Reza doesn't want to give documentation on how all of this works to the community. So that is why it's so hard to mod. But some things are being done to improve it, and we will talk about that a little later.
Well, actually, Ghost, that's because you have brought up also what restrictions have led to this. So now we are time to how can it be improved? And the first thing, which I think we should talk about, is sort of a slight plug for Ghosts, actually, which is his own academy called Ghost Academy. So do you want to fully explain what that is? Because the link will also be in the description for you to apply to.
Yes, so one of the solutions I imagine to help with this absence of AIMS2 modders is to create a kind of academy-style Discord server where users can join and learn about the structure and read a couple different tutorials on how to make basic mods for the game. And so I invite you to go into the description and sign up. There's a system, an appliance system. I don't know exactly how it's called on Discord, but you gotta apply to join the server, and I will see your application and decide if you're admitted. And there's a couple of questions you've got to respond to, and people who are welcome there will learn how to use the Madness engine. And yeah, I'll teach them. There's a bunch of documentation there, but that's not the only solution possibly that there could be to facilitate modding in the Madness engine for Madness engine games. And here we're focusing on AIMS2 because AIMS2 is the best game of the Madness engine. The Reza themselves could release documentation potentially, and maybe even GUI usable tools for the community. There have been some talks, but for different reasons the talks have faded out. And I'm trying myself to come into communication with Reza to start again these talks, but it's not a easy subject, and it's not something that they'll easily do with no questions asked. There has to be discussions about the different interests in the community and what Reza wants exactly. And there's also independent people who do reverse engineering and use the translation of the files who have been done by the community to write GUI tools for editing the hex files. I'm not supposed to talk about this, but I've worked. I've done a little bit of beta testing for some GUI tools. This actually isn't really a secret. There have been GUI tools for Project Cars 2 modding for a long time, so naturally it comes to it's natural that some tools are starting to be written for EMS2 now that the popularity shifts to EMS2 modding. There are also some people try to write automated scripts to help do some of the hard work in terms of file structure and renaming and packaging. So yeah, some work is being done by independents, and some work is being done to speak directly with the developers about this matter, which is of utmost importance, in my opinion.
Yeah, those are all very interesting points which Ghost has brought up, but he has forgot to talk about one point which I added, which I don't know how much Ghost knows about, because I'm I call myself the most active non-Reza forum member. So I've been active there for most of AMS2's public life, which is 5 years, and I've been active there for 3 now. But there was a bit of discussions a year or two ago on the forum where they were complaining about the amount of hex code there is. And then some Reza employee said that, it's maybe hex code for you, but for the actual Reza members, they have basically a text file where they change a few, like drag coefficient and these things, and it all gets added so they don't have to play with hex code. So that would obviously be very useful.
I've talked with some developers at Razer who are telling me that previously with the Madness engine, when they've been doing mods for other games, they would take weeks and weeks to do some certain things, and now that they are employees at Razer, they would stuff that would take them weeks to accomplish independently without the proper documentation or tools will now take them half an hour. It's impressive the workflow that Razer has, because they have the proper tools and understanding of these complicated files.
Exactly. They have a lot of knowledge which they're sort of, I would say, on the fence of releasing, because it's like you have, as Ghost has said, they have a lot of modders there, so they say we should release the info, but Renato has also has to also work against not upsetting EA, which now might become harder since they're owned by certain other bigger companies and countries now. So it might become a bit harder to do these things, or it might become easier. We have to see.
There's always the internal conflict of interest of, if you release the tools to facilitate the community to bring anything they want to the game for free, they might come into a competition with you, making content that you offer for paid money, for example, DLCs that Razer sell for free. And this has already happened. There are free mods currently that you can download which offer for free the same content that on the other side Razer makes you pay. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's technically on presentation it's the same models, for example. So yeah, there's a little bit of a gray line right there, and Razer's position right now is of uncertainty and lack of communication, because they don't want to deal with the problem, so they don't deal with it at all, which is a solution. Maybe not the best solution, but a solution.
The easier solution.
Easier solution, exactly.
Yeah. And that's basically it for this modding discussion. We have talked about all of the points. So if you like this video, if you like my discussion with Ghost and want to see more, comment down below. Whilst you're down there, please hit the like button and also subscribe. My next video, because as I've understood it, as of uploading this, the update should have been released a week ago, and hopefully I've made the video on that, so this is after that, so TAA will have already been seen. And then, obviously after that, because we have just had an update, there will most likely not be any news, so hopefully we get I come up with something interesting, or maybe Ghost tells me to, like, oh, we can't talk about this, or oh, go and drive this thing here. Something like that, because there are a lot of interesting videos I can do. I can maybe try and do some top speed testing around the track Ghost has been telling me to do. But until then, I've been Racing Legend, you've been my Massive. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!